between the different branches of government, as well as within each branch of government. Understanding the powers of the office of the president and how to make sure that abuse does not happen. These are things we should have paid attention to and which we now need to do today, because the housekeeping of government needs to be in place in order that the bigger issues we can truly address in a sustained way. We also need to understand better how the security sector works, how foreign policy works. These are things that impede into how our regular lives, our daily lives, and we cannot leave security sector reform and governance to the security sector, and we cannot leave foreign policy just to diplomats. We have to, in our citizenship, learn how to engage in these issues and in this discourse. But it is not enough to just connect peace and development with good governance. I think what we have also learned, and it is important in all democratic transitions to remember, is the need to do one further connection. We need to connect our dreams for development outcomes, for peace, yes, to good governance, but also to democratic politics, to ensure that we engage in politics, that politics cannot be left to the politicians, as I'm afraid we did after 1986. This means understanding the politics of reform, understanding the politics of peace, looking at the decision makers and what their agendas are, what their interests are, who are actually making these decisions. It also means learning how to turn our peace agenda, our reforms, into political issues, letting our reform agenda, our peace agenda, matter to politics, become a part of the bottom line of political leaders, and not something to be discarded, for example, when they are overcome with the politics of survival. And it is in our encounter with President Horta today that we see again how important in this connection, in making the connections between politics, governance, and development, what we call in Inside Gov as PGD, the importance that the political leadership be legitimate, that it be truthful, as I think President Horta has been very truthful to us, even about their amazing economic development. No, I did it. And for political leaders to truly choose the dialogue and the peaceful path versus the ways of war, not just in words, not just in agreements, but in actions, in the implementation of agreements, and in being able to bring people together across different interests, across different sectors and classes, to really stand behind peace and reform. In the end, what I am saying is that true, lasting South-South solidarity needs to be continued, and it is a good time to remember this as we mark the anniversary of IID. We have to continue in solidarity. We have to continue to learn together and from each other across the seas between the Philippines and Timor-Leste and all the other troubled areas in our region. We need to hold hands in a new form of solidarity to sustain democratic politics for good governance so that we can deliver sustainable peace and development for our people. Today is a good occasion to affirm that we can indeed learn our lessons. We can learn together and from each other to make our gains and peace permanent. Magandang hapon po.
Thank you very much, Ging. Our third panelist, if he's around, was the upset vice chair, but he is currently the government lawyer dealing with the MILF, and he is currently in the Congress on a committee hearing. So I don't know if he's still been detained there, but if he's not yet around, he must be still there. So it has nothing to do that he's from the Ateneo, the other university down that avenue, who has been clubbering UP in the basketball. So Attorney Cedric Candelaria, if you're around, I don't see you, but if you're not, then we can proceed with that gives us more time then for a set of Q&A. Since as we've heard our speaker and also our reactors that this is also about dialogue anyway, and so it's the turn of our friends, you, to also raise and make your comments and your questions to our distinguished presenter, His Excellency Dr. Horta. So I will take a set of 3 questions for this set, and let us see if we are still able to get 3 more. And I will encourage first our students to ask the first, to fire the first salvo. So UP, show that you're UP. Okay. Questions, comments from the current students, alumni, and maybe even our distinguished guest. General Santos, please. De Los Santos.
Your Excellency, good afternoon. I recalled in your lecture that you've been saying that we help you a lot. We supported you, and also we extended a lot of support, and you mentioned certain personalities that help you in terms of shaping your values for independence and democracy. I would like to say that it's also the other way around, because in my stint in East Timor, I observed you and Janana Guzmao, your personality, how you inspire the people. So I think we can also learn a lot from you. So I'm saying that the Filipinos should learn on the leadership that they choose, leadership that can inspire people, leadership that's founded on integrity, leadership with commitment, and leadership that can serve the people. Thank you, Joseph.
Thank you, General Santos. That was not a question. That was, an affirmation. You know? Any other one who would like to make a comment or ask a question? Please. Student? Okay. The guy in black, and then the man in blue, and the lady in gray. Okay. Then we will ask Dr. Horta to respond.
Sir,
please cite your name and.
I'm Genius Andre F. Palista from the National Institute of Physics. I observed that usually leaders of young nations exert great legacies in their country in such a way that they would affect or have great influence on the succeeding leaders. And I think in the case of our country, we have Cory Aquino. And however, I observed that her most virtue that exerts influence is her piety and her simplicity as being a plain housewife who became president. In your case, looking at your resume, I think you have more experience as a leader. So given that, for example, our Cory Aquino is a very pious person and is I think she's a good woman, but her influence somehow has waned practically, though I still believe in what she stood for, but the leaders, the current leaders of our country are not listening to her anymore. So, most of them. So I think, sir, what can you do so that your influence will what can you do so that your influence will stay for a long, long time, in such a way that East Timor will not become somehow like Philippines, wherein Cory Aquino is not being listened to anymore.
Thank you very much, young man. I think he wants some tips how to become also the next leader of this country. Sir, can I invite you for your question? The one in, yes, sir. And then after your sets, then we will ask Mr. Horta to respond.
Good evening, Your Excellency. I'm Judge Reynaldo Daway of this city, Quezon City. I have a very brief question regarding how you deal with your judiciary in your country. And probably you may have something to say about the rule of law in your country. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Judge Taway of this city. In 1994, it was this city, another judge, not him, who gave us the TRO that wanted to stop this conference. But it was not you, Judge. It was somebody else. Ma'am? Yes, sir.
President Horta, good evening. I am a member of the faculty of this university, specifically the College of Law. And my question relates to what I understand is the Visiting Forces Agreement between Timor-Leste and the United States of America. I really want to know if you or your government are content with it, or was it a product of a situation that gave Timor-Leste no choice? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I hope I hope Jose doesn't now regret accepting the invitation to come with that question. And the last question from a young man, Kiboy. Please.
Your Excellency, good evening. I am Kiboy Tabada, a college freshman from this university. First and foremost, I'd like to thank, I'm thankful for this opportunity to hear you speak. And as a young man, truly I am inspired with your commitment and passion for peace. Now, I'd like to ask for some insights as to the significance of the youth in the upholding of peace, specifically in your country. I observe that, for example, in the Philippines, I've been observing these past few days that the youth as a whole are parted into two. There's this group that's too apathetic, and there's this group that's going towards fascism or of some sort. What exactly, or
fascism?
I think that's kind of an exaggeration. I'm sorry.
So we have Nazi youths already now.
But I'd just like to ask how important or what actions should the youth take to participate in the pushing for the peace process part and less on the fascism part. Thank you.
Thank you, young man, Mr. Kiboy. So I invite now Jose to respond to those 4 different sets of questions, and maybe our reactors, if they want to also add. Please, Jose.
First, I thank General Jaime Los Santos for being so kind in your remarks to us. In terms of the second question about my possible legacy, well, let me tell you one thing. I really don't care what people think, don't think, when I leave office, and I want to leave as soon as possible. But while I'm alive, when I was from young till today, my main concern has always been the question of justice. Justice not only, in the